Chapter 7. Chapter 7 is called The Secret Was Safe. Corrie rolled over in bed. It was no use trying to get up. She was still too sick to move. When she'd fallen asleep on Sunday night, she had hoped to wake up well enough to work. There were ration cards to distribute, and she needed to find out what she could about where Jop was being held by the Germans. But her head was spinning, and every bone in her body ached. She sighed deeply. She would have to stay in bed for at least another day, maybe 2. This was proving to be a tough flu virus to shake. It probably didn't help that her 51-year-old body was exhausted from the constant stress of worrying about a Gestapo raid. Throughout the day, Betsy ferried hot cups of tea up to her along with news of what was happening. Ferried means to carry from one place to another. It was a busy day at the Bayet. Willem and Peter had arrived to conduct their weekly afternoon prayer meeting. After the national anthem incident in Velsen, Peter had been kept in prison in Amsterdam for 2 weeks, given a stern warning never to play the song again, and then released. Now he was crammed into the parlor with his uncle and the 25 residents of Haarlem for the prayer meeting. Corrie could hear his piano playing drift up to her room as the group sang a hymn. On her next trip up with more tea, Betsy told Corrie that several members of the underground had been in and out of the clock shop exchanging information and picking up bundles of Hans leaflets. Meanwhile, the guests were in the men's bedroom on the 3rd floor reading and playing chess. Most people at the prayer meeting in the parlor didn't even know there were such guests in the house. Towards mid-afternoon, Betsy again appeared in Corrie's room. She opened the curtains a little to reveal a damp, dreary day outside. Earlier in the morning it had snowed even for a while. "There is a man downstairs," she said. He says he must see you at once. His name is Jean Vogel, but I've never seen him before. I say I'd get father for Willem for him to talk to, but he insists he needs to talk to you." Corrie swung her legs over the side of the bed and slowly stood up. "Tell him I'm coming," she sighed, as she slipped a dress over her pajamas. Sick as she felt, if the man had to see her, then he was going to have to take her the way she was, clothes over her pajamas and all. She bypassed the small mirror on the wall. She knew she looked terrible without reminding herself. Slowly, she descended the stairs, clinging to the railing for support. In the clock shop was a short man with wire-rimmed glasses. Corrie looked him up and down. Betsy was right. He was a stranger. "I am Corrie ten Boom," she introduced herself. "What can I do for you? Do you have a watch or a clock that needs to be mended?" The short man shook his head. Without looking Corrie in the eye, he started to speak and tell about his home, how his home had been raided while he was out. He and his wife had been hiding a Jewish girl whom the Germans had found. His wife had also been arrested, and now he had heard through the underground that the police holding his wife was easy to bribe. He felt sure that for 600 guilders he could get his wife freed. Corrie fought through the fog in her flu-muddled mind to think about what the man had said. Was it a trick, or was the man telling her the truth? "I don't see how I can help you," she finally stammered, which means to make stops and repetitions in speech to stutter. "I'm only a watchmaker, and times are not good right now. It's all I can do to feed my sister and my old father." The man smiled at her. "But I was told Tante Corrie would help me," he said confidently. "And who told you that?" asked Corrie, wanting more than anything to end this conversation and climb back upstairs to bed. "Members of the underground. They did not give their names. It's too dangerous, of course," he said matter-of-factly. Somewhere in the back of her mind, Corrie knew that the man should have used at least one of the code names when referring to people in the underground, but her head was spinning. She needed to sit down on the stool in the workroom. What should she do? The man's wife was certainly worth 600 guilders, especially if she had been arrested for hiding a Jew. On the other hand, what if his story weren't true? Unsure as she was about the story, there was 600 guilders in the bank, and if the story were true, it would be an honor to use the money to release a courageous woman from prison. "Come back at 5 o'clock and I will have the money for you," she said. "And now please excuse me, I am not well." The short man adjusted his glasses on his nose, bowed slightly, and then left the clock shop. Corrie asked Betsy to arrange for someone to go to the bank and withdraw 600 guilders, and then she climbed back upstairs, pausing outside the parlor for a moment to listen to Peter's music. Hoping to make the most of being awake, Corrie crawled back into bed with her briefcase. which was filled with documents about the work of the underground. Tomorrow was ration card distribution day, and she had to work out how many cards each house hiding guest should get. She pulled a ledger from the bag and opened it. She wrote February 29th, 1944, the following day's date, at the top of the page. She was trying so hard to focus on the job at hand, she didn't even notice the date marked a leap year. Corrie looked down the list of drop-off points for the ration cards and at the number of people who needed to be fed with them. But the harder she looked, the more the numbers and names on the list became a swirling jumble of shapes. It was no use. She should concentrate on them no longer. She took her reading glasses off and let her head fall back. By the time her head touched the pillow, Corrie was fast asleep. The briefcase on the bed slipped to the floor with a thud and spilled open. The next sound Corrie heard was an urgent cry. "Hurry! Hurry! Get down! Hand me the ashtray and don't tip it!" Corrie awoke with her heart beating wildly. What was happening in her room? People were racing past her bed. Suddenly, her eyes opened wide and she sat bolt upright. She was in charge of practice drills for getting into the Angel's Den, and she hadn't arranged one for today. So it could not be a practice. It had to be a raid. The Gestapo must be coming. In an instant, Corrie was out of bed, urging people to move faster, throwing bags and pillows in after them. Mary was the last of the regulars to make it into the Angel's Den. She puffed and wheezed as the others pulled her inside. Corrie prayed a silent prayer that Mary's breathing would quiet down. She slid the wall back into place and shut the linen closet door behind them. Just as she was pushing a basket in front of the door, a tall blond man sprinted into the room. Sprinted is to run at top speed for a short distance. At a glance, Corrie recognized him as Arnold Smith, an important figure in the underground. Corrie supposed he had been delivering information to the Baye and was now trapped by the raid. Arnold looked around the small bedroom in confusion. "The others? I thought they came this way," he said in a panicked voice. Corrie flung the closet door open and reached down to slide back the wall. Arms grabbed Arnold from inside, and in an instant, he too disappeared into the Angel's Den. Corrie shoved the wall back in place, slammed the door shut, and raced back to bed. She had just smoothed the covers when she saw the briefcase spilled onto the floor, where it had fallen from her bed. "Oh, God," she prayed. The case was filled with information, names, addresses, and ration card numbers. If the Gestapo found it, many lives could be lost. She had to get rid of it. In a split second, she was out of bed again. She grabbed the case and spilled its contents, flung open the linen closet, pulled back the wall, and threw it all into the secret chamber. "Hurry, hurry," she told herself as she slid the wall back into place. "If the Gestapo walk in right now, everyone will be caught." As soon as the wall was secure, she pushed the linen closet door closed and made a leap back to her bed. She tried to breathe normally. "I've been asleep. I'm sick. I don't know what's going on. I'll act surprised when the Gestapo come in," she told herself. She pushed her head back into the pillow and shut her eyes. Seconds later, she heard footsteps on the stairs. The door to her bedroom flung open, and a man in a gray business suit walked in. It was not at all what Corrie had expected. Who are you?" she stammered. "Don't come too close. I'm sick." She coughed in his direction.